Currently, she is appointed as the Principal Commissioner for Children and Young People. What prompted her to move into legal advocacy was a lack of justice the system could provide for children and young people. She has raised community awareness and campaigned for the rights of vulnerable children. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Liana Buchanan.
Thank you. And I too would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we're meeting on tonight, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my deep respects to their elders past, present and emerging. It won't surprise anyone that people often have to adjust the microphone upwards a little bit when I come to the stage. It's an incredible honour to be invited to share tonight's celebration with you. And indeed to speak to you. For those who don't know me or don't know much about my role as Commissioner for Children, essentially my job is to promote the rights and the safety and the well-being of all children and young people in this state of Victoria. My job includes advising government essentially on what needs to change so that we can do better by our children, again, every single child. I have particular parts of my job that focus on vulnerable children. So part of my job is to oversight our youth justice system, our child protection system, and our out-of-home care system, to try and make sure that as a state, we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that we're looking after these kids. I also work to make sure that children are safe when they're away from their families, when they're in organisations, whether they're at school or kinder, whether they're going to sporting clubs, or whether they're attending faith-based activities of any nature. For those of you who are parents, I absolutely encourage you to look up our website, the Commission for Children and Young People, to learn a little bit about the child safe standards so that you know that when your children are attending different organisations, what you can expect of those organisations so that they do the right thing by your children. I know from my friends and colleagues of Muslim faith that the holy month of Ramadan has both a personal and a communal dimension. It's a time directed at upholding commitment, compassion, at self-discipline, at spirituality and improvement. But it's also a time, I know, that is in part about coming together. So at the end of each day, the process of coming together with family and community for iftar is very much about coming together, sharing food, sharing stories and sharing time with one another. One of the key things I've learnt in my job as Children's Commissioner is the importance of family and community to children. Of course we have to look after our children, we have to provide them with food and clothes and shelter, but actually it's relationships. It's relationships with family, it's relationships with community members that actually help children form their values, that help them forge their identities, that give them a sense of purpose and a sense of self. And whilst that might seem obvious, I have to tell you, based on what I see in my job, too many children in our state haven't had the benefit of strong, safe relationships with family or the wider community. And the hardship and the challenges and the suffering they experience as a result is immense. The fact is, and I think we've seen some of it already here tonight, and we've seen it reflected in the images of children and families in the video, that when children have the embrace of their communities, they tend to be healthier, they tend to do better at school, they socialise better with their peers, they do better all round. Part of that, of course, is having a strong connection to their culture, including their religious beliefs. Passing on stories, traditions and practices helps children to develop a strong sense of belonging and identity. Now, as Children's Commissioner, you'll hear me talk a lot about children's rights. Children have a whole raft of rights. They include some of the obvious ones: the right to be safe, the right to healthcare, the right to education, but they also include the right to understand their cultural identity, their practices and values. They have the right to live in a world where they're valued no matter what their faith, their cultural background, no matter who they are. I feel incredibly lucky to live in Victoria, in a state that has such an incredible, rich range of people from different cultures, people of different faiths, people with a whole range of different values. I experience that every day. I also, every day, in my job as Children's Commissioner, see just how important culture and living in diversity is for children, for their lives and experiences. I say again, I'm incredibly pleased to be here tonight. It felt incredibly fitting that I've come on and come to my first of these dinners at the same time as we had the first performance from a group of pretty remarkable children. I have to say, a lot of the images that I saw in the video that you played in opening absolutely embodied for me what's good about community, what's good about people working together, what's good about people working and supporting their children. I'm looking forward to sharing the dinner with you tonight. I congratulate MINA for the work that you do and for the incredible spirit that you represent. Thank you.